Welcome to the Big Fat Real Estate Checks podcast with Marco Kozlowski, where we help investors like you get the knowledge and skills you need to replace your JOB with passive cash flow for life.
Hey guys, welcome to Big Fat Real Estate Checks, version 2 of what should we do in marketing or in getting a property under contract. It doesn't check out as far as cash flow wise. Should we focus on areas that are perhaps a little bit more C or D areas, or areas where you have to pack your 9 in order to actually do some due diligence on the property? It's really rough. And maybe have an AR, at your side in order to check things out. Should we avoid those areas altogether, or should we shotgun market and get anything that we can and then make decisions from there? And we're going to have this healthy discussion between myself, Marco Kozlowski, and I sound like the Count, and Gabriel Araish and Frank Galuccio. All of us Canadian, living in Montreal, Toronto, and Orlando, respectively. So looking forward to some great content today. And so if you've not listened to our last podcast where we discussed Gabriel's starting deal where $100,000 property, I got it for $60,000, but it still doesn't cash flow. Not that it wasn't a great deal, but it was. It just, the buy and hold strategy won't work because of what the cost of cash is and what the tenants that are paying what that is, and it just doesn't mesh. No money to be made, which happens. What do we do then? And this is sort of an adjunct podcast to this, which is, well, what if the area is really shitty? Then what do we do? In fact, we could have a podcast on all sorts of different scenarios on, what could happen when and if. But this is a pretty good teaser, a little wet your whistle a little bit on the things that could happen and the questions that we get as we go down this rabbit hole of the journey of buying cash flowing assets specifically, because that's what this is all about: monetization, cash flowing of assets, using none of our own money, using asset-based lenders in order to back us, which all of you have access to if you just know how. If you have the skill sets to do it, you can have access to it. If you don't know what the hell you're doing, you are not going to get asset-based lending, because asset-based lenders do not want to lend to people that don't know what the hell they're doing. So that's why you have to get trained. If you're trained, you know exactly how to get access to it and how to communicate with them effectively. So here we go. So we get a property, it's in a shitty area. Should we even bother? What say you, boys? Let's start with Frank this time.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to add what you were saying earlier about, should you do a shotgun approach versus, a sniper approach where you have a niche market. And, being in business for many years, or the business fundamentals 101 is, you should have a niche market that you're targeting to. But real estate is, I guess, goes against the grain a little bit because you want to cast a big net. And when you do cast a big net, you're scraping the bottom of the ocean floor or the lake floor, and you pick up, whatever you pick up. You can catch and release. And in this case, just say you do pick up a property that's may not be in the ideal location. There's chalk marks on the sidewalk with the guy, and his dog next to him, right? So, actually, we're not joking because I know, Marco, you had one of those.
The dog too?
You had, well, not the dog. I don't know about the dog. The dog I made up, full disclosure.
Well, that's after, it bites Frank. Once it bites
that's right.
Frank.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Yeah, again.
Okay, yes, I got bitten by a stray dog. That was a scary day.
No. Forgive for the interruption, but what bothered me more is that people were more concerned about the dog than they were about Frank. On Facebook.
Yeah, what the fuck?
On Facebook, it was like, don't hurt the dog, don't kill the dog, we'll take the dog in. It wasn't the dog's fault. No one's like, how's Frank doing?
Yeah, that's right. Does he have rabies?
No shit's given for a human, but dogs.
Blood's running down my leg. We had ambulance, police. We had animal control there. I think we had spectators, city officials, and everyone's worried about the dog. And I was like, are you kidding me?
I couldn't believe it. Anyway.
Thanks guys. But anyways, so when you're marketing, so in this case, if you do broad marketing, which in my opinion you should, catch and see what you can get and then catch and release. And if you do come across a property in a bad area, which you are going to, still tie it up. In my opinion, still tie it up and then work out the kinks later. See what you're gonna do. Like before, Marco, you know how I was. I was looking at the crime area. And there's websites where you can look at the crime area. You can look at the school areas, and if you do all that, sadly, someone else like Gabe or Marco is going to take that property before you pull the trigger. So it's that shoot then aim mentality. So when you do get a bad property, listen, would I keep it? I personally wouldn't keep it. I'm being honest with you. I definitely wouldn't keep it, but obviously, if it's a bad area, there's other people that own properties in that area. I would see if they're interested. That would be my first go-to is see other owners they may want to take this off my hands at a good price.
Well, the question isn't really, if you're going to buy. The question is, can you monetize it? Can you make money with the deal? And, you've answered that, Frank, is, this is one of the ways that you would make money on it. So, yeah, I mean, if you had a choice to go fishing and they would say you have one fishing line with one lure, or you get a big net and you can fish with that, well, which one would you choose? It's your odds are a lot better to catch fish with a big net, and then you can, pick and choose what you want to keep and what you want to release. And, real estate is the same thing.
Absolutely. And just because it's in a bad area, and we get this question a lot, and I'm surprised we actually haven't had a podcast on this yet, since it's actually quite relevant in that, well, if I avoid bad areas and I get a property there for $1, would I not look at it if it was only $1? The answer is yes, right? So price heals all wounds. So if I get it for the right price, would I find someone local that might want to buy it for $10? Most likely. So it's still a $9 profit. So I can still go through the process of marketing, getting the deals that make the most sense as far as cash flow goes, and then figure out do I want it? Is there someone in our network that would want it? Is there someone local that would very much like to, have this property? Same thing with management. If I can't find management, we have a rule of we have to have absolutely 3 management companies that are competing for the business to manage the property. What if we only get 2? Well, I'm not going to buy it because I know what's going to happen. Experience has said that, one management company is going to shit the bed, then the other management company is going to take it over, then never pay us, and we have no other outlet to actually get paid. And if we're not getting paid, what's the point of buying the property to begin with? We're not buying a deal just to buy a deal. We're buying something that's going to take care of us for a very long time. This is generational wealth. Every time we buy an asset, we buy it and we hold it. Just like Warren Buffett, his holding period is forever. If you've ever asked, I think there's a quote saying my holding period on anything is a forever. He doesn't sell unless something drastic changes. He just doesn't sell. And that's the same strategy, our same philosophy is you buy it and you hold it forever. And if you're going to buy something that's going to be drama, it's going to be a pain in the ass, it's going to be hard to manage, it's going to be difficult for your family, and you're going to pass this on to your kids, and unless you hate your kids and you absolutely want them to have drama, then go ahead and buy it so you can, it's called revenge. You could definitely do that, but the objective is to buy and hold and make stable cash flow forever. And if it's in a shitty area, then perhaps that's not the best thing to buy. However, what if it's in a shitty area that's now being gentrified and turning around, and the plan is in 3 years from now, this is going to go from, a D area into an A area. If you're familiar with, for example, the Staples Center in Los Angeles, that was a very rough area for a very long time, and then they completely turned it around. Now there's a JW Marriott, there's high-end restaurants. It's like one of the bougiest areas there is in the LA area, and you would get murdered after 11 o'clock on a game. You stayed there too long and you're dead, depending, no matter who you are, you're going to get mugged and you're going to get assaulted. And it's just a very, very rough area. But now it's prime real estate. So understanding what's happening in the future, understanding what you can do with it now. If you, as I said in the last podcast, the more skills you have, I can actually even grab it and then not wholesale it, but actually owner finance it, even though that I don't own it. There's something called wholetailing that we've put together in a very clever way where if they don't cash you out within X amount of time, even though I don't own it, and I know this is going to be like a whole bunch of question marks for people that are even in the business going, how the hell are you going to owner finance something that you have a contract on? That doesn't make any damn sense. But man, we do it all the time. And we even, anyway, I'm going to let you just, I'm going to,
he said too much.
I'm just going to let you, I'm going to let your mind fester on that for quite some time. And you're going to have no choice but to most likely email me at marco@marcokozlowski.com. And I'm going to say, hey, if you want to learn how to do that, come to the 3-day and we'll show you how that's done.
Gabe, I thought we put a moratorium on Marco for no more new content.
I
It's
thought
not
so
new
too.
content. I've been doing this.
No, I know.
What are you talking about?
I know it's not new. It's new to these people that are they're listening to the podcast. But
it's just you can monetize anything if you know what you're doing. And again, with skills, the more skilled you are, like a chef. There's very little waste in a kitchen because they take something and then, if it doesn't sell, then it goes into something else and then eventually ends up into soup. And the soup is they make soup out of whatever wasn't eaten. And that's how they basically have zero waste. And coming back to the point that you guys were making is cast a net, see what your net catches, and even a boot. A cobbler might want this boot, or it's a rare boot, or it's distressed now. It's worth something. So you can just put different spins on what it is and monetize everything that you get in your net. You don't have to throw things away. You can actually monetize pretty much anything if you know what you're doing.
I wanted to add to that. Even if you're in a C or C minus or even a D area, what you said, Marco, there is a lot of counties and cities that they trying to revive that area. I remember once we were looking at one in Florida. It was a pretty rough area, but the city was granting. This is a commercial property, by the way. The city was granting, or the county was granting, a certain allotment of money or budget for everyone to have invest in their curb appeal. So new signs, painting the exterior, new parking lot. So there's also a lot of advantages in getting into these areas, which at first glance you're like, there's no way I would even live there. But if you look further, once you have it, and again, we don't recommend you do this upfront work before you have a contract. But when you do, you may want to look into the counties and the cities if they are doing their opportunity zones and they give you money to improve the property. Because if that's the case in 3-4 years, like they did, Marco, what you said in LA at the Staples Center, they turned that around. And there's parts of Toronto you wouldn't dare to go after 9:00. But now it's an up and coming place. There's restaurants, bars, there's nightlife. There's actually life going on there. So that would be the long-term game. If you are going to keep it, obviously you would have to factor all the variables in there, and there's a lot of moving parts, but there's an opportunity even in at first perceived shithole areas. Because a lot of municipalities do have money, and especially now they want to put a lot of money into infrastructure and cities, whatever. So maybe a good opportunity to look at those.
You said something that I think is very profound, is I wouldn't live there. And I wouldn't live anywhere, the properties that I have. The only place I would live is in my house. And a lot of people look at properties and, well, I wouldn't live there, so I'm not going to buy there. This is not about you living there or not living there. This is about cash flow. And you'd be surprised. I'm going to just say this as a Canadian looking into the U.S. because I was shocked as to how people lived in the U.S. in many places that I would never, ever live there because the standard of living in Canada is very different in the U.S. And I'm not trying to shit on anybody that's in the U.S. at all. I've been living in the U.S. I love the U.S. God bless America. So it's the best place to make money ever. Money's easy here, and I'm definitely not trying to insult anyone that's living in the U.S., but the conditions where people live in many of these areas are unbelievable. Unbelievable how people live and the conditions in which they live. And I, at first, I can't buy this because no one is going to want to live here, and it was full. And I just couldn't believe it. But that's a conversation for another day at another time. But just know that because of what Frank had said is, I don't want to live here, so I'm not going to market there. Don't do that. Because your ego and what you would do is not what everyone else would do. So just look at this as literally I wouldn't live in an ATM machine either, but guess what? They make money. I wouldn't live in a restaurant, but guess what? They make money. I wouldn't live in a laundromat, but guess what? They make money. I wouldn't live in a bar, but guess what? They make money. So it's, these are money making opportunities that you're buying in order to, using somebody else's money in order to make cash flow.
Well, when you invest, you have to separate, emotion from it, right? And anytime you discuss things like I wouldn't live there, that puts your own emotions into
Correct.
the equation, and that's when you make mistakes anyways. So, but again, just to recap this is you want to market as many places as possible. Everything that was discussed today on the podcast are all things that you wouldn't do before you got into a contract. They're all things that you're going to do once you have it under contract. But to get under contract, you have to cast that big net. You can't just pick and choose locations, because it's going to extend the timeline that it's going to take you to get anywhere. It's a lot easier to cast a big net, and then once you catch the fish, you'll look at it and you'll decide what you want to do with it. Do you want to, keep it? Do you want to release it? Do you want to sell it to someone else? The options are endless, but you can't even evaluate the options if you don't start by casting that net.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Goes back to, throw away the tackle box, that one specific lure that everyone's trying to catch that one particular property, and you're just gonna. Oh, you could do that. You're just gonna have to pack your patience. If you want to be really selective, it's still possible to do. It's going to take you much longer to get there. So
you can wait for the fish that's $10 and pass on all the $2 minnows. So if you have 10 $2 minnows that you're passing on to get to the $10 fish, you've passed on $20 to get to 10. So that's how this business works. Is if you're looking for just this, there's all this other opportunity over here that you're missing. And the beauty of knowing what to do is you can monetize anything that comes across the table. And we're going to leave it at that. That could actually be a whole podcast all to itself. And I'm not sure when we're going to broadcast that one, but you better keep listening so you don't miss it, because we'll show you how to monetize anything once you know what the hell you're doing. So anyway, that's all the time we have for today. Gabriel, unless you have something else, you have this light bulb idea, the face of, I want to say something. No? Okay. Frank?
No,
Frank,
we're good.
Your thoughts?
do you really want to know my thoughts?
No, we said we would. Frank, do you have nothing else to say?
I got nothing else to say. Yes.
All right. No,
They told me to say this before the podcast. I got nothing else to say,
Marco. All right. Very good.
Help me.
It's fire drill time at Frank's house.
That's right.
All right, guys. You wouldn't understand the joke unless you listened to the last podcast. Guys, thank you very much for being on this one. Hopefully it was informative. Just know that you can monetize anything if you know what the hell you're doing. And it's not the market that matters. It's how you monetize it that counts. So if you get something across the table and you know what to do with it, you can monetize anything. And like I said, we should have a podcast on that in the future. Not quite yet, but in the very near future we will. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode and all the others that we produce. And we love doing this. So thank you once again, the listener, for being with us, downloading it, sharing it, and loving it, and commenting as well. We love being in the top podcasts, and we want to stay that way. So thanks very much. Frank, Gabe, appreciate you very much. And we will see you on the next one, and have a phenomenal, phenomenal day. Talk soon.
If you like this episode of Big Fat Real Estate Checks, then show some love by leaving a comment and a good rating. Also, as a thank you for tuning in today, we've got a special free gift. The journey to passive cash flow for a life starts by finding deals, and it's easier than you think. Simply go to getdealsbytuesday.com, enter your email address, and we'll send you a free quick start course called Deals by Tuesday. Even if it's 11 p.m. Monday night, this course will show you how to find discounted real estate deals by Tuesday. It's that fast and simple. Go to getdealsbytuesday.com and start your journey toward life-changing cash flow today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.